Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Money in the Morning, aka Economic Elevation, aka Financial Consciousness. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I am your friendly neighborhood finance professor, and it is so good to see everybody. I hope that you are feeling good today. I know I'm feeling good. I'm feeling awfully black and proud and powerful and capable, and we're going to go ahead and conquer the world and make everybody, if they go put respect on our name, respect, not respect, respect, RECECK. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing good. I'm feeling good. All right, so and I was in the 5:45 a.m. club this morning. Anybody else who got up the earliest this morning? Put it in the chat. Tell me what time you got up this morning, and we do a little contest to see who got up the earliest and who's on the grind the hardest. Let me see. Let me look in the chat. Okay, I saw New Jersey in here. I didn't see who's from Jersey. We're holding a convention in Jersey. Okay, look at that. Wow, Errol's up at 4:45. Nice. Veronica, 6 a.m. Ray got up at 5:35. Karen Millhouse, 6:30. Jonathan Thompson, 5 a.m. What? Oh wow, look at man, y'all are just y'all are some fanatics. Fanatics. I said fanatics. Y'all are some fanatics. You're too extreme. Stop being extremists. Stop being extreme. Hope, 4 a.m. Come on, Hope. What's wrong with you? That's crazy. Linda, three, getting up at 3. Wait, what's just stop it. Just stop it. Y'all need to you should be Netflixing and chilling and come on. You ain't nobody you ain't gonna have no friends getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Melissa, stop that. Just stop that. Up here, Brett Ronald talking about 4:40 a.m. He said daily. I mean, come on. Why don't you just get cocky about it, dude? I mean, come on now. Anyway, you know what I'd like though about that is actually, I'm a believer, and Barack Obama said this in an interview. He said, and I agree, that if you want to be great at anything, you have to give up on this idea of trying to fit in a world of mediocre people. You have to give up on that. You have to give up on sort of always being relatable to people who don't want to accomplish nothing, who ain't got no goals. And we all have people like that in our lives, and it makes you feel kind of bad, when you're like pushing beyond and above, and other people around you aren't interested in that, and it makes you feel like a crazy person, but you're not. You're just a person who wants something, and he actually said in the interview, and I agree with him. He said, if you want to be great at sports or politics or education or anything that you want to do, you have to be extreme and you have to be okay with being a little off balance in terms of being excessively committed. That's investing. All that is investing 101. Investing means the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. And a lot of people want they want the victory, but they don't want to make the sacrifice. And I'm like, how's that going to work? How you gonna pull a chicken out the oven when you didn't even put a chicken in the oven? Right? You're supposed to put an uncooked chicken in the oven to get you a nice, delicious, juicy chicken out of the oven. Some people will look in the oven and say, "There's nothing here, and I'm starving and I'm hungry. Why is there nothing in this oven?" Well, go back in time and ask yourself, what did you put in there? What did you get? You get what you give, right? So this is it. So the secret to getting is giving, right? The secret to receiving is to give. And that includes not just to yourself and your future self. It also comes down to your space, your people around you, right? Even your children. If you are a loving, giving parent to your child and you raise them properly and you teach them things, then when you get older, you can receive support. They'll back you up. They'll come pick you up at the nursing home to get you to your doctor's appointments, take good care of you. If you don't pour into them, if you ignore them and you say, "Oh, these kids are getting in the way. I'm trying to go to the club at 48 years old," well, then you're going to end up with some kids that don't care about you, right? So we receive what we give. That's a rule of life, reciprocity. That's how the universe works. God bless the universe. All right. So last night, some of you were there for our deep dive on silver. Thank you for coming. It was great to see you guys, and it looked like you got a lot of value from that. I had a great time. And for those who missed it, that recording is available. If you still want to go sign up for it. And we're going to do another deep dive. And I want to ask you all a question, actually. And you can put your answers in the chat because I want to analyze this later. What would you like for me what can I do for you that would make it a worthy investment for you and your family? Like, what could we do a deep dive analysis on, a breakdown, let's say 2 hours of just us in a room and in a Zoom room like this, and we're diving into something. Like last night we did silver, and not just the use cases of silver and how the investing environment works for silver, where the opportunities are, how to invest in it safely, but all how to turn it into an income stream, how to make it into like a little business where you're getting income. Most people unfortunately don't talk about that. They can talk about owning assets, but they don't understand that you can actually liquidate and still maintain your ownership. So put some stuff in the chat. Let me know some topics you'd like to see a Dr. Boyce deep dive on, and I can go through that analysis and kind of just figure out like what we can do next. So put your chat, put your comments in the chat. So give me some ideas. I need some feedback. So write in whatever you want. Calvin said, great question. That's not an answer, Calvin. That doesn't help you. And Calvin's the smartest black man in the world. So I need more, Calvin. I'm gonna push you, man. I need you to give me more. All right. So anyway, just write it in the comments, and I'll go back and take a look at the comments later and figure out what we can do the next time on the deep dive. So we did silver, we did ETFs, we've done a few other topics. I can't remember all the things we've done deep dives on, but if there's an area of investing or making money that you'd like to see a deep dive on, just put it in the comments and we can definitely jump into that. And you can write that in anytime during the conversation. So feel free to do that. All right, now let's go to okay, that's my daughter calling me exactly at the time where where I just started class, so I gotta tell her I'm kind of done. All right, I can't talk right now. All right, so here is let's do a quick. I want to talk about something really quickly that was really interesting to me. I saw this article that I want to share with you that basically shows black women, black female actors, actresses who have been blacklisted by Hollywood. And I thought it was interesting, and I'm gonna go into why I thought it was interesting. And you can kind of see here, there's Jack Hay, and from 227, and then there's another, well, Kim Whitley. Kim Whitley's the one who looks like, is that Kim Whitley or Jack? That's Jack Hay, right? But maybe it's Kim Whitley. They look so much alike. But anyway, I was at Kim Whitley's house one time, and it was an interesting experience because I was shooting something in L.A. with Joanna Man. You remember Joanna Man? I can't remember his name though. He's good though. He was a good. He directed something for us. He did a really good job. So anyway, I was shooting with Joanna Man in L.A. and we were at Kim Whitley's house. And Kim, I don't know if she had had the house cleaned that day, and so I had to pee. I had to go to the bathroom. So I was gonna go in the bathroom. Miguel Nunez, thank you. I'm sorry I forgot his name. I shouldn't call him Joanna Man. But anyway, I don't think he would mind that though. He's kind of proud of that role. Right? He's a nice guy. Anyway, so we were at Kim Whitley's house, and I was like, and I had to go. I had to pee. I had to use the bathroom. So I was like, well, can I go in here? And I think somebody said, well, I don't know if she'd want you to go in there because the house is kind of not clean. It was a little bit dirty. And I was like, I gotta use the bathroom. And there was a little boy. I don't know if it was her son, her nephew, or what. And he goes, oh yeah, the bathroom's over here. So I'm like, okay, well, I got permission to come in now. So I walked in the house and went to the bathroom. So I'm going to the bathroom and I'm like, wow, I'm using the bathroom in Kim Whitley's house. And and I was like, I don't know if she would like that because it was a little, she seems, I think she's busy because the house really wasn't, it wasn't, like my wife would have got mad if I let somebody in the house when it looked like that. But she was a nice lady though. I'm not saying she keeps a dirty house. Just that day though, I think she probably would have smacked that kid upside the head for letting company in. But I was appreciative because I had to go. But anyway, that's my Kim Whitley story. But anyway, on this, I didn't know that well, and actually, it's not Kim Whitley. I think this is Jack Hay, right? This has got to be Jack Hay. So it says that she was blacklisted. Who's this person in the middle? Can somebody? Oh, Kim, is that Kim Coles from Living Single? Is that who that is? She was very very pretty. She's still very pretty now, but in the '90s, oh my God, gorgeous. Who's this? Who's this lady on the right? I don't know who this is. Y'all gotta help me because I don't know all the actors and actresses. Now y'all know who this is. This is Stacey Dash. Apparently, I guess her kind of doing the whole Republican thing kind of threw her off, and she said some stuff that was pretty controversial. I did not know that Lisa Bonet had some issues. I think when she did that movie Angel Heart in '87, that really kind of disrupted the good girl image. And then Janet Jackson, ironically, was on this list. I thought that was interesting. Oh, yeah, she had the wardrobe malfunction, which I don't think was really her fault. I kind of feel like, I mean, because she didn't pull the thing off herself, and Justin Timberlake did that, right? So he should have been banned, not her. But anyway, this is Vanessa Williams, gorgeous, from Gary, Indiana, by the way, which is where my wife is from. And let's see, yeah, she was forced to resign because there was an issue with some pictures that were taken, but I don't think she really got blackballed. So I think maybe the list is exaggerating here, but maybe I'm sure that caused some career damage. Who else is here? Now this is Robin Givens. Y'all remember Robin Givens? She's done a lot of movies, but she did kind of disappear after a while. Let's keep going down. Gabrielle Union. Haven't seen a lot of her other than her in social media. Talking about her husband, and her children. Now this poor lady, Lark Voorhees, gorgeous. I think she suffered with some mental health issues, and it was really sad to see. And so anyway, they go down this list, right? And I was looking down this list. Maya Campbell, there she is, as beautiful as always. Countess Vaughn, and these are people that it looks like you really didn't see a lot of. Elise Neal, she was great. She was in one of my favorite movies of all time. I think she was in Rosewood because she plays Scrappy, the 17-year-old. And so anyway, like, which Bing Rames shouldn't have been dating that 17-year-old, right? That would be a big deal now. Teresa Randall, gorgeous and very talented. So you can keep going down the list. And there's Sunshine, oh my Lord Jesus, from Harlem Nights. Nobody forgot that role she played because she was awesome. But anyway, so I saw this list, and there are some men that have been blacklisted as well. But here's why I brought this up. I brought this up because when you talk about the blacklisting of someone from a career from an industry, I think that's kind of a common sort of concern or fear that can happen, in a field, right? Like, oh my God, if I upset this person or that person, or if I speak out on this issue or that issue, I'll get blacklisted. Like I remember when I was in academia at Syracuse, I was warned that I would be blacklisted by universities because I confronted Syracuse about the racial history of the university. I kind of said, you have 20 or 30 departments where you've never ever at one time ever given a single promotion to a black person. Like that's not appropriate. That's highly inappropriate behavior, but you act like that's normal. You really expect the world to believe that in all that this job has been done by thousands of white men, that there's not one Negro on the planet smart enough to do this job. I said, the KKK couldn't have a worse hiring record than you. This has happened in a lot of spaces. I and just to share, I remember I got a call from the Obama administration years ago where they asked me to go on TV and endorse a lady named Elena Kagan for the Supreme Court. And I said, okay, I don't know anything about this lady, but okay, let me look into her background. And they said, well, no, she's very pro-black. I said, well, what makes her pro-black? They said, God said, because she's not black. And I remember Dorothy Height asked the president to put a black woman on the Supreme Court, and not just anybody with black skin, but like a black woman from America, right? And Obama said okay, but for whatever reason, he pulls out Dorothy Height, or not Dorothy, I'm sorry, Elena Kagan. And I said, okay, I understand why strategically he would pick her because she's from Harvard. Harvard has a direct line to the Supreme Court. A lot of the Ivy League schools, if you notice, a lot of the justices go to the same schools. And so that's skull and bones type stuff. I don't know. But that was one thing I said, okay, so she's from Harvard. She's a woman, so you check that box. She's Jewish. Y'all know how that works. And some people speculate that she might be LGBT because in her career, the only time she took any controversial position on anything was when it came to gay rights. Everything else, she was pretty neutral because to be a Supreme Court justice, you got to be neutral on damn near everything, right? But on that issue, she actually took a stand, and I said, that says something, right? So anyway, long story short, I remember I said, well, what is it about this lady that would lead you to believe that I should go endorse her? I'm sure she's got people in her community that would support her, but I don't have any reason. I don't have anything in common with her. Like I'll support, for example, in Chicago, I have two friends that are running for office. One is named Jamal Green. He's going to run for mayor of Chicago. I support Jamal because Jamal is a guy that cares about my community and my people, and he wants black people to win and succeed, and he's constantly, consistently putting black people first. There's another guy named Tyrone Muhammad. I just heard from Tyrone today, who is running for Senate, and I met Tyrone. I like him. When he speaks, Tyrone speaks about black people first, black, 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 bliggity, black, 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 all the time. That's my guy, right? Because he's Muhammad, and that says Nation of Islam. I relate to that because God bless the Nation of Islam, by the way. That is one area where you see black excellence in a way that I think should be studied and replicated all throughout the community. I really believe that. Not every piece of it, not maybe the religion part doesn't relate to you, and that's fine. But in terms of family, wealth, and intellectualism and preparation, they've got some things figured out. So I think they should be studied by everyone, even if you have no interest in ever joining. You should study them. But anyway, with that being said, I said these are people that I can get behind because I can understand this. But this lady, Elena Kagan, I don't know. There's nothing here. And they said, well, she when she was at Harvard, she took the Thurgood Marshall chair in her department. She was in the law school. I said, well, that's it. That's all you got. And then when I went and really did further research, it turned out that when this lady was the dean at Harvard, now pay attention now, this is economic racism. This is how it plays out. This is what economic systemic racism looks like. And I'm also talking to you about the economic pathway and the plan to overcome this. This is why I'm telling you this story. So bear with me. So I find out and actually, Roland Martin and a couple of law professors at Duke were the ones who actually brought it to national attention. I'm glad that they did because I actually just jumped in and supported what they were saying. She hired 31 people during her 5 years as the dean of Harvard. Out of the 31 people she hired, 29 of them were white males. 29. And the other two, one was an Asian male and the other one was a white female. It was something like that, right? So there was not one African American person that she hired during that entire time. And I said, you mean to tell me there's not one black person? Like, how many of y'all, let me ask y'all this, how many of y'all know a good black attorney, like a good smart black lawyer? How many of y'all know a good smart black lawyer? Anybody give me a yes if you know any good smart black lawyers who could perform and teach anywhere. Or judges or people that went to Ivy League schools that are on top of their game. Some of y'all are in this room. I know some of y'all in here went to Ivies and you made straight A's and you did the whole thing. So I said, you mean to tell me that you couldn't find one single black person on the planet that was good enough for this job? I told the Obama administration, quite frankly, I said, the KKK could not have a worse hiring record when it comes to black people than this lady. So what makes you think that? I said David Duke couldn't go because you can't go lower than zero. You can't hire less than zero unless you're going around just firing Negroes for no reason. And who knows, maybe they were doing that too. Right? Harvard's done that, by the way. You go look it up. There's some interesting stories, case studies out there. But anyway, I said, no, I'm not. I said, you can do what you want to do, but I'm not supporting this BS. This is stupid. And so I remember it was really interesting too because then at what happened that same week was Harvard, I think, felt the pressure and because they were trying to get this lady on the Supreme Court. So miraculously, out of the blue, they literally granted tenure, I think, to the third black law professor in 300 years or something. Literally, they'd only given tenure, I think, to two black people in the 200-year history. Suddenly, they miraculously that week gave tenure to the third black person. The first two were Lonnie Guinier, never met Lonnie. Derek Bell, who I did meet. I like Derek Bell. He wrote a book called The Bell Curve. I think well, that wasn't the Bell Curve. It was something. What was it called? The Bell Curve. I liked him, by the way. He's a nice guy. He's one of the founding thinkers behind critical race theory. So he's a great guy. I talked to him. I like the guy. But anyway, and I said, isn't that interesting that just this week, when you're dealing with this pressure, you happen to finally hire and give tenure to a black person. And do you know what happened to me that week? This is something I'm kind of annoyed by this to this day. That lady who got the tenure emails me and had the audacity to say to me, like, you're wrong. They picked me because of my credentials and they didn't pick me because I was black. Race had nothing to do with it. Just like I said, at first I said, okay. Well, I said, okay, so after 250 years of them only picking two black people to get they pick you this week. And it happens to be this week where I'm out here speaking because I was speaking on it. I said, no, I don't support this. This is crazy. So in fact, I told the Obama guy got upset because I said, I'm gonna go when I go on TV today, I'm gonna say the opposite because you're full of it, man. This is wrong. You're screwing black people and you're manipulating black people. That if you ever want to get on my nerves, come insult the intelligence of black people. That is literally one of my greatest pet peeves. So I think they were a little concerned. So they got Harvard to bring this lady in, and I said to her, I said, okay, so first off, you're welcome. I think that me running my mouth as the loudmouth that I am, it's probably played a part in you getting that position, but I don't need the credit. Good luck to you. I said, but number two, I said, I noticed that they've been negotiating with you for over a year or something like that. It had been a really long time that they had been like they talked to her about coming over like a year ago. I said, isn't it interesting that you just took the offer this week and they'd been talking to you for a year? I said I'm willing to speculate that because of what was going on, because of the noise we were making, they went ahead and upped the offer. Because if they had given you the appropriate offer you wanted in the beginning, you would have taken the job 9 months ago, right? So I didn't. I remember just thinking about this, and this made me think about just some of the nonsense that we deal with when we have this culture of training ourselves and our children to sort of seek jobs as really a false opportunity for economic advancement, right? We raise the kids and we teach them, hey, make sure you're well behaved, make sure you go to school, make sure you do what you're supposed to do, so that one day a white man will adopt you like Gary Coleman in Different Strokes, and you'll get a chance to go live a better life. So you get to be like the little economic version of Webster or something, where you're being saved by these white people who are helping you because you're too weak to help yourself. I resent that. I think that there's a better way. And what happens though is that even when you get the opportunity, there's always this stipulation that says, okay, look, we're not bringing you in here because we want you here. We're not bringing you in here because of who you are. We're bringing you in spite of who you are, right? We're not celebrating you. We're going to tolerate you. And in order for us to tolerate you, you're going to have to integrate fully. Your diversity goes as far as your skin color, and maybe you could teach us a couple of dance moves at the Christmas party. But if you come up in here with too much of that black stuff, like you start talking about us hiring more people like you, we're not going to do it. You come in here talking about what we need to do politically, we're not going to do it. If you come in here trying to change the direction of this institution, we're not going to let you have a say in that. We're not putting you at the table. We're going to bring you in and ghettoize you. That's what like at Syracuse, for example, they didn't really have any black people that were in sort of the central administrative decision making roles. It was more like you'd get put into. They'd be like, oh, all of our black people are in Africana studies, right? We let them have that little ghetto. We let them have that little area where they can go and do whatever they want. But if they try to make big decisions under the direction of the institution, that's just not going to happen. That's not appropriate. Here's the thing, though, that I want you to understand. This is where I sound a little bit contradictory, maybe almost hypocritical. I don't really blame them entirely for that because what I have found when you really study human nature from an unbiased perspective, what you learn is that power is important for people. And power is something that people fight for, and power is also something that people will protect. And people have preferences. Humans have preferences. And I just imagine, imagine a white guy coming into the black business school and saying, no, we're going to call this the white business school, or we're going to call it the non-racial business school, and we're going to, like this is whatever, right? And we're also going to make sure we celebrate Irish History Month because, hey, if you're going to talk about black people, you got to talk about Irish people too. And I'd be like, I'm not Irish, I don't, but well, I'm 5% Irish because somebody got raped in a slave cabin 300 years ago. But still, though, yeah, same thing, right? So here's your dilemma. Your dilemma is that you have a just cause for your concerns about the unfairness. You do. You have a right to explain, as Dr. King might have talked about, how this American dream or the promise of America or the promise of freedom and democracy was not fulfilled. You have 100% uh, right to make that claim. But then the problem is that you run into the realities of power. And the thing is that power kind of makes its own rules. Power says, we're going to do this. And if you say, well, why are we doing this? This isn't fair. Power says, well, because I said so. And what you gonna do about it? Right? How are you gonna make you can't make me change my behavior. So here's the thing. So when I looked at that list of blacklisted actresses, let's circle back to that. And I also saw lists of black men in Hollywood, for example, who've been blacklisted. I thought about my experience as a scholar at Syracuse and my big mouth and how I knew I was gonna get blacklisted. And it made me think about institutional power and how you can circumvent that. How it doesn't have to be a hopeless conversation. For many of us, it becomes a hopeless conversation because either A, we're convinced that there's nothing we can do about it, or B, we're convinced that the only way we can change it is by getting white people to shift their behavior, right? Getting them to do something that is sometimes a little bit unnatural, which is to share power when they don't actually have to do it, and just saying, hey, we're just leaning on you to do the right thing. Um, Let me give you some solution in case those solutions don't work for you. Let me give you some other solutions that have been applied by different communities and have allowed them to accumulate a tremendous amount of power and freedom and be able to operate without that fear of being blacklisted. I think the thing that bothered me the most about being blacklisted in academia, because I did get blacklisted. I'd go. I was the only African American on the planet on the planet to get a PhD in finance in the year 2002. There was no male, no female, nobody anywhere. It was hard. It was like being a freaking financial version of a Navy SEAL times 100, because it wasn't Hell Week is a week, right? No, this was Hell Decade, right? It was really hard, right? And so you would think that so if you read the nice little diversity statement that says, hey, we're looking for qualified Negroes because we can't find none, and we're happy to bring them in because you believe these things, and then you find out that it's like, no, you have to come in a certain package, which is kind of sit down, shut up, and integrate quietly, and you'll fit in. I wasn't that kind of guy, and I don't have anything against people that can do that. I just couldn't. I'm from Louisville. I got Muhammad Ali in my blood, so that ain't gonna work on a corporate plantation ever, right? So long story short, it made me think very deeply about this problem that is faced by so many people. Like, for example, how many of you feel like you've been in situations where you felt that there was racism in the space that you worked, racism in the university you attended, racism in the institution you were a part of? Give me a yes if you've gone through that and been frustrated by that. Where they do nicer things for the white boys than they do for everybody else, or you saw a white person get an opportunity that you deserved, or a promotion or raise, right? Like we all go through, so many of us go through that, right? So I kind of think that solving this problem, it's number one, it's definitely doable, and then number two, it requires us to think a little bit more expansively about economic opportunities. Sometimes, if you constrain yourself psychologically, this is where consciousness matters. If you are unconscious and you constrain yourself psychologically, you put yourself in a psychological cage where I feel like the only way I can get to my destination is to deal with you and be with you and look at you every day, then that really creates a tremendous amount of stress on me. It's like a bad relationship where you believe that there's nobody else on earth that will ever have you, because somehow the person that you're with has convinced you that if they don't want you, nobody will, right? That literally, this is all you can do. So you will fight with that person, get them to change their behavior, deal with them, for years and years and years, and be stressed out to no end. And that person can ruin your life and ruin your happiness. And this is what I see when I see the economic relationship between Black people and America. We'll be locked in this little alleyway because we're not conscious of all the other things that are out there, right? Like a person in a bad relationship, in an abusive relationship, Stockholm syndrome. You are in love with the oppressor. You want to you they don't make you go into those cages. You walk right into the cage and sit yourself right at the back of the bus because you feel like that's the only place you can be. So consciousness matters, because if you're conscious, if you're in a relationship that isn't working and you become conscious, you say, wait a minute, I don't have to be here. I don't have to be sitting in this chair. I don't have to be talking to you. I could leave this room, never talk to you again, and have a billion people on earth I can talk to. Why am I sitting here dealing with you when I could be dealing with another space or another situation, right? So here's the deal. Look, if you're talking about this idea of being blacklisted and blackballed, and let's go back to the example with the Hollywood actors and actresses, or let's say you're talking about scholars or medical doctors or anything like that, there are clear, simple pathways you can take that will allow you to circumvent a system such that you don't have to operate in that constant fear. That's another thing. Think about this, right? Every day you have 24 hours in a day. You spend, let's say, 8 hours of those days partly sleeping and then getting ready for work or whatever. So you got 16 hours left. Out of those 16 hours, 10 of those hours is spent at work, getting ready to work, come home for work, whatever, right? And if you hate your job, if you are under stress from your job and under a lot of pressure, that means you're spending the majority of your life in a place that is psychologically unhealthy. I mean, if there's not a recipe for death, I don't know what is. Like, you're literally living in the middle of spiritual sludge, right? And just toxicity everywhere. Cortisol, all the things that Dr. Alicia might talk about in terms of things that happen in your mind and your body and your soul and your spirit when you're in that abusive relationship. It's just terrible, right? So one of the ways to relieve that, I think, or one of the causes of that might be, for example, among many things, is this constant fear that if I get out of line, I'm going to get blacklisted. I'll get fired. No one else will hire me, all this other stuff. So, one way to alleviate that pressure would be to use this word that I love to use called options. And options aren't just something that someone gives you, it's something that you can create for yourself. So, here are a few things that you could do. Let's use Hollywood actors and actresses as an example in order to kind of understand it, but you can apply this to any field. One is that if you're talking about media and being, let's say, blacklisted in media, I know I found in media that developing my own distribution channels made all the difference in the world. There was a time in 2008, 2009 when I got blacklisted from both CNN and Fox at the same time. I couldn't get on TV because I was defending Michelle Obama and got into it with Bill O'Reilly on Fox News. Next thing you know, Fox and CNN had banned me. So I created another pathway. I just said, okay, well, let me see if I can find a way to get directly to the people that I want to talk to. And I left Syracuse, and that's what I do now. Also, the other thing too is I found, for example, that even though I am fully capable and have a very easy time, I can take any child and prepare that child to be a millionaire. It's very easy for me to do because financial science is that's my specialty. And so you would think that if you really cared about kids in public schools, you would want all those kids to be exposed to these ideas, right? Like I can sit down and talk to a group of black boys, and it doesn't matter. You can give me the worst behaving kids in the school, and within 20 minutes we're buddies, and I'm teaching them, and they're ready to go, right? Because I understand, I know how to be the dad, the football coach, all these things, right? And but why wouldn't that happen? Well, because you've got this barrier, you've got this constraint, which is the school system, which is run by a bunch of white women from the suburbs who don't want their black boys to be impacted or tainted or influenced by people like me because maybe they don't like where I stand politically. When I say, hey, I don't think we should depend on white people, there are white people who probably should be and would be offended by that. So, you know what I did? I said, okay, well, you know what? Instead of going through the school system, because people have said that they said, hey, Dr. Boyce, you should get your curriculum in the school system. I say, look, I got the word black and stuff that I do. People hate black people in general. They don't, the word black is seen as too harsh and too toxic. And also your school's, diverse, right? You can't sort of really even do that, right? So I said, instead of doing that, I'd rather go to the original teacher, which is the mother. The mother is the original teacher, the first teacher of the child. And so I said, okay, you know what? The white lady from the suburbs may not understand me, but that black mama who has a son that she loves and wants to see him succeed and wants to make sure her kids are protected and safe and successful, she's going to get it. And I know she's going to get it because my mama got it. My mama would take me and my sister to places where we could hear from strong black people like Dr. Claude Anderson or the lady who was it Marva Collins, the educator in Chicago who raised all that hell because the school system wasn't educating black kids. I think it was Marva Collins. My mama loved Marva Collins. I mean, but she also introduced me to other people that were on different sides of the political spectrum. She used to talk a lot about Dr. Ben Carson. And, before everyone said, oh, he's a Republican, that means he's stupid. No, the man ain't stupid. The man has a hell of a story. His mama left school in the eighth grade and could not read. And this man became one of the greatest surgeons on the entire planet. I don't want that story taken away from our children just because he decided not to be a Democrat. That's a bunch of crap. That makes me angry. You can love this man, don't love his politics, but love the narrative that's shaped by this mother who invested in her child who became one of the greatest surgeons in the history of this planet. That's what you can grab. Chew the meat, spit out the fat. Stop letting the politics and these damn politicians tell you which black people you're allowed to care about. That's nonsense to me. So anyway, so developing your own pathway to get what you want. That's what you do. Remember, your job ain't nothing but the middleman. That's what that is. It's the middleman. They go out and they sell a product and then they give you a cut of the money. They create the business model and give you your cut for doing your job. You can also create business models on your own. These are skill sets you can obtain. The same way you learned how to do whatever they have you doing at that job, you also can study how to create business models, how to sell a product, how to do your distribution, all these things. And I think these skills are really important for black people because the price we pay for going through the middleman, it's a tax, a black tax. It's very, very expensive. It's another example might be like in finance, we have what you call the bid ask spread or the liquidity cost, right? Meaning that the cost for you to become financially liquid is damn freaking high. It's too damn high, meaning that the cost for you to get the money you need to pay your bills is higher than everybody else. This is a black tax nobody talks about. It's the fact that you going to work, everybody else going to work, they're fitting in, they're going to the office Christmas party and they're enjoying it because they're playing Beach Boys music or whatever white people do, and you just don't fit in. That's just not where you at. You'd rather be with your family in the cookout, but you can't because there's a lack of economic models and a lack of industry in your community. So you come home from college, you went to school and learned all this stuff, and you come back, there's no jobs, there's nothing there, right? There's nothing that you can pour into. So the answer for that everybody gives you, well, you got to go to the other side of Chicago where the white folks have the businesses and you got to work for one of them. Stop that, man. Like who's gonna make the who's gonna pick up a shovel and dig up some opportunities and create possibilities for our kids so we ain't got to go sell them off or sell them up the river to somebody else. That's what we do. We don't need more business management majors in college. We need business development majors. We need people that can make a damn investment, sell a product, develop a distribution channel. We don't need more black athletes going to the NBA. We got a million Negroes that went to the league. I don't care about none of that. We need somebody that's going to go start some sports leagues. That's what we need. Right. Because at the end of the day, as long as you're allowing other people to monopolize the process of creating opportunities and you've monopolized the process of chasing opportunities, you will always lose. You will always lose. Money is a drug. Professor Andrew Lowe at MIT showed that money affects your brain in the same region as cocaine. So money is a drug and you become an addict. Why? Well, because if you don't get your money, you have withdrawal. You will be stressed out, worried, can't sleep at night. You are a financial crackhead to some extent. We all are to some extent. Never in history has the drug addict had more power than the drug dealer. They position themselves as the dealers. And the dealer will always have power over the addict. The pimp will always dominate the hose. I don't want our children signed up to be little addict hoes going into an economy in a society where they're positioned to simply beg and behave and hope that they get an opportunity. I don't want somebody coming and picking my child. I want my child to pick where he wants to be. And it's a mindset. It is absolutely 100% a mindset. So developing distribution systems of your own or getting rid of the middleman, that's one method that avoids that. That way you don't have a fear of being blacklisted. Once I had another way to make money outside of Syracuse University, I did not give a damn or a rat's ass if they were going to let me go or blackball me. I did not care. I said, I got a million, my consciousness rose. I said, I got a million places I can be. I got places I'm wanted in this little damn university, whatever. I don't care what y'all do. Y'all, it's your loss. I'm glad, but I'm glad. In fact, I wasn't even mad at them for mistreating me. I was actually appreciative. I was like, man, if y'all hadn't treated me like shit, I wouldn't have realized how many other opportunities are out here. I wouldn't have even been looking for it because I was so in love with you. I was in love with you, girl. I'm in love with you, girl. Oh, right. Like I was literally like, like she keeps on passing me by, right? And then one day you slap yourself and you wake up and you're like, wait a minute. No, this ain't it. Let's go look for some other possibilities. So a lot of times when we think we're lacking resources and lacking opportunity, sometimes we're just lacking imagination. Sometimes, you think you're lacking, money or investment or possibilities, but you're kind of lacking initiative, maybe. I think that having some courage and some creativity in our children and saying, hey, you know what, you can be whatever you want. You can be a captain of industry, but let's make sure you get the skill set so you can go really chase that down and make that happen. I think that's just a more expansive reality because here's one thing, even if you work for someone, you can have a job your whole entire life. I'm never into job shaming. I want to make that clear. Just for those that are new, I don't shame anybody that has a job. If you like your job, I want you to keep it. But I just want you to always remember there's a difference between working for somebody because you want to versus working for somebody because you have to. That's really it. Sometimes just knowing that you could go somewhere else, you just rest a little better. You negotiate it with a little more confidence because you're not afraid of like what will happen if they decide they don't want you anymore. Right? So let's keep going. If you have multiple streams of income, that's another way to avoid the fear of being blacklisted or blackballed or whatever they do to people when they punish them. Hollywood's notorious for that. They do that all the time. That's why these Negroes go crazy. They go out to LA and they come back talking weird and doing weird stuff and on drugs and just I mean seriously, like black people go to LA and they become weirdos. Some, not all of them, but a lot of them. You've seen that. You see what I'm talking about. They come back talking about some stuff where people are like, what are you talking about? Like this is weird. But why do they do that? Well, because they're trying to adapt because they desperately want to fit in. Their vulnerability is that they came to Hollywood with this dream of being accepted and they never actually truly accepted themselves. So they will do whatever and become whatever just so that Sony Pictures or Warner Brothers will give them an opportunity. And it's humiliating and it's very stressful because unfortunately a lot of them end up losing their lives or losing their peace because of that. Owning your own intellectual property can go a long way, right? So if you whether you're talking about somebody who's a performer or somebody who is just a carpenter or anything, right? If you understand the concepts like intellectual property, what that means, that goes a long way. There's a whole conversation about a guy who did something with ribs named Mr. Tenderism or Tendernism or something. Did anybody see that? I didn't follow it in detail, but I saw it on the blogs. I don't know the details of the story, but I know that there was a conversation about intellectual property and cutting trademarks and everything else. And so so the thing is that when you talk about people that are into like the wealth building space, they have these conversations about the accumulation of capital, trademarking, selling a product, distribution channels, things like that, as opposed to just the conversation about getting a gig. Right. I knew a young lady who was really good with advertising. She would draw these really amazing images and have these really cool slogans and campaigns. And she would like make a Nike ad just to make it. And I remember she said, yeah, Dr. B, I would love to one day do advertising for Nike. I'd love for them to hire me. And I said, well, why do you have to be hired by Nike for you to do ads? Like you can do ads for yourself. Like why not do that? Why not keep that creativity for yourself, right? And sometimes that's not even something that we're even trained to think about. There's nothing magical about opportunities that are created by other people, right? The most magical opportunities are the ones that are created by you. And also building alliances and this is a specific skill when children are trained to form good relationships with other people that can create and make investments and things like that. That opens a really massive door, just a beautiful Pandora's box of possibilities in terms of economic expansiveness and financial consciousness. I would try to, I don't know how persuasive I am. I don't try to persuade. I just share when it's appropriate. But I remember I was in LA and I remember being so impressed with how talented the actors and actresses were that I would meet, and they were so hungry for opportunity, and they would do stuff for free. They would just dedicate 12 hours in a day working on something for free. And I remember saying, gosh, it's a shame that they didn't study business in addition to studying acting, because what they would see is what I see. What I see is, okay, you're a great actor, you're a writer, you're a director, you know how to use the camera, you know the lights, you know the audio. So you guys have everything you need to be a production company. Like, why aren't you making your own films and then learning how to market and distribute that product? Like, what's stopping you here, right? And what's typically stopping us a lot of times is the consciousness thing, because part of consciousness is just knowledge and awareness, right? They don't know. No one ever talked to them about it, right? And so to me, I'm like, man, if you could see what I see, you would see that you're sitting on, at least a few $1 million if you were able to really process it that way. But instead, you're waiting for someone to come along and rob you. You're waiting for some studio they're very conscious. They're very conscious economically. They're going to see what I see, and they're going to offer you, this much money, and then they're going to go off and make $100 million, and then you're either going to be appreciative of the opportunity, or maybe you're going to realize that they kind of exploited you or whatever it is, right? So I'm not at all criticizing or making fun of anybody. So don't, I hope it doesn't sound that way. It's really saying, what if we educated our kids in that way? Like, what if it just started from the jump that we trained every black child as if they're going to have to do something independently and create something on their own or with their friends, even if they don't want to do it themselves. I mean, maybe everybody don't want to be the CEO of something, right? But you can be part of a team. What does team building actually look like in a way that gets the job done? One of the things you need to do as parents, in my opinion, this is my 2 cents, is you want to give them a couple of foundations. Three things you can give them. One, give them a capital base. That way they have some assets to work with. We talked about that, like the 5-year pledge. Text the word pledge to the number 87948, and I'll tell you all about the 5-year pledge. So text pledge to 87948. I'll send you a training on exchange traded funds, and you can learn all about what the pledge is from there. Number two is knowledge, just teaching them, just letting them know that this stuff is out there, right? Basic financial knowledge. You don't have to teach them yourself. Just bring them to class, bring them to this. They're going to learn a lot. I never heard from a black college professor until I was 19 years old, and I never had one in class. I've never had a class with a black college professor. So the fact that I'm here talking to you every day, that's something I wish I could have had. If I was listening to me every day, like, not to, I'm not, I don't deserve to be on any pedestal, but Lord Jesus, if I was listening to me every day when I was 18, oh my God, my whole career would have been completely different. My whole life would have been different. Right. So I want your kids to have that. I want them to get this at 6, right? I want them to be absolutely fanatically committed to becoming great and extraordinary, defending their community, saving grandma's house, being on top of their game, being ahead of the curve, winning at all costs in a healthy way, of course, but literally being the champions that our community deserves. The third thing that you can give your kids is just some of the more spiritual, cultural slash emotional uh, necessities that are required to be good when it comes to business and investing. Investing and ownership requires a certain amount of perspective. Got to see the big picture. So consciousness is important because you're going to have the up days and the down days. Resilience, the ability to withstand the setbacks and be okay with that. The resilience also allows you to ignore all the small-minded Negroes who are telling you that you're crazy or that it's never going to work or you're stupid for doing it, right? All the distractions. There's a lot of distractions in the world, right? As a black man, I had to learn how to fight through all that. I had a lot of black men I couldn't even hang out with anymore because if all you're talking about is smoking weed and drinking liquor and chasing women and sitting around doing nothing, I can't do that. I got a mission. I got a purpose, right? So if you're on purpose, then you got to be on purpose, right? And that spiritual part means you got to focus. You got to shut it down, shut it out. That's more spiritual. You don't learn that in school. What else? Just courage, right? Faith. All these little intangibles that help you succeed. Because sometimes you can have all the tools, you can have the resources and the know-how, but if you ain't got no guts, if you're a punk, right, then you're not gonna go very far, right? Or if you don't have any faith in the vision and the mission, then you're not gonna. But think about this, right? We have so much faith in, like, we'll go to church and stuff. So why can't that faith be translated to faith in yourself and in your community? And what's interesting to me is I always wonder how our faith ties into our ability to be courageous. Like, do you have faith in God because you're scared of everything and you feel like God's going to protect you? Or do you have faith in God because you truly believe God is inside of you and that gives you an armor and a shield and the ability to do anything? I think those are two different things. I've seen people have faith in God because they have no faith in themselves, no faith in their people, no faith in their purpose. So they live in complete fear. So it's like God is the big, strong guy that's protecting me. But then I've seen people that will say, no, this faith I have in God exists because I know that this is perpetual and it's ubiquitous and it's everywhere and it's in me right now. And so I'm gonna move forward in my purpose with complete faith because I know God really truly has my back and I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna make it work. Me and God together are gonna get this done. He's gonna guide me, he's gonna give me the strength and courage and all that. Right. That's really my relationship with God. I'm not super religious. I don't go to church, but I do go to church every single morning, if you know what I mean, right? So ultimately, I think that we have everything we need to be truly, truly extraordinary, and it really just requires, like, not just the plan, but committing to the plan, like, and knowing that working the plan is like a daily thing, right? Greatness I find is a subscription that you must renew every single morning. Every single day, 1,001 decisions you make every single day on, like, okay, is this taking me in the direction that I want to go? Am I being the man or woman that I want to be? Right. So anyway, I didn't mean to be overly preachy today. That just came to mind. And I hope that that helps. It's kind of like a mix between a business lesson and maybe part sermon, but I ain't nobody's preacher. I'm just sharing what I see and what I've noticed in terms of what makes people successful. All right. So let's before we finish up, let's go to Instagram real quick. And just a reminder, tonight we're doing Powernomics training. We're reading Marcus Garvey's book called "A Message to the People." And if you want to join us in class tonight, just text the word greatness to the number 87948, and I'll send you a link and you can join us in the Zoom. After we do that, there was another book. I was thinking about reading that book called an empire of their own, how the Jews invented Hollywood. I think that would be a good one because I actually have I think you can learn from the strategy that came into building. A lot of people don't know that a lot of the major Hollywood studios were all built by the same group of people that came from the same part of the world. And I'm just telling you, it's oh, buddy. But I don't know. Maybe that's I don't know. Let me think about that. All right. So let's see here. All right. So let's go to Instagram real quick. And let me find something here I wanted to show you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here, and that way we can see what's going on in the world. Okay, first and foremost, my wife, Dr. Alicia, and two of her friends, Tiana Von Johnson and Shar Curry, have created a podcast called The Real Table Talk. You can follow them at therealtabletalkpod.com. And or that's the website. No, that's their website, but also on Instagram, it's The Real Table Talk Pod. And Tiana Von Johnson, she works a lot with Master P. She does a lot of stuff with him, and she's super dynamic, super smart. And Shar Curry has hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, and she's into relationship stuff. And my wife, she does what she does. She's a full professor of social work and a licensed therapist. And it seems to me that they're really interested in healing and talking about real life from a real perspective. So I just out of support and respect for my wife and her friends, I thought I would mention that. And let me share. Oh, this is fun. I have a lot of stuff. Don't worry about that. If you ever want to know what I look like the day I finished my doctorate, this is me. Because some people every now and then I have to post this image because people think that my PhD is fake, but this is where I went to school, the Ohio State University, and that's me getting hooded. And it was an embarrassing moment because I got confused and I walked in the wrong direction. It was real weird. But anyway, that's just not that anybody cares about that. All right, so yeah, so this is a reminder what the job is, just over broke, and you feel like a hamster on a treadmill, and you have this perpetual cycle of bills, debt, and taxes, and here's the thing. The question when it comes to a job, in my opinion, is not whether or not you work for somebody. That's okay. I work for people sometimes. There's nothing wrong with working for a person. The question is, are you building a surplus? Right? Are you elevating economically in some way? Are you getting closer to the point where you don't have to do this anymore? Or are you just working to maintain? If you're just working to maintain, that's different from building a surplus where you say, I have this small amount of money that is extra on top of my bills that I'm able to put toward a long-term development of a capital base that will eventually make money for me, right? So your money can grow into a teammate. It can go into almost like a financial spouse, meaning that if you have, let's say you have a job and you're putting money in your 401k and you do that for say 10, 20 years or whatever, then eventually that money grows into enough that it makes income with you. So you have your income and the income from your investments. Or when I was in Syracuse and I started my business eventually, at first it was eating up a lot of income. It wasn't giving me anything back. But eventually it was like I had a two income household, even though I wasn't married, because my business was also an income provider in the household. And this adds to financial security. So when you talk about this, so when they got to the point where I thought I might be blacklisted, I had no fear of that because I knew I was making as much money outside of my job as I was making on my job, and that didn't make me necessarily more courageous, but it was easy to be courageous because I had nothing to fear at that point. I knew I was going to be fine. So there's more. This is just some news. This was something I put up just because I thought I was really thinking about back when television was positive, and you had shows like the Cosby Show in a Different World where where they were actually promoting things like HBCUs, and or the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when, it was sort of like, okay, you can be aspirational, you can accomplish things. And it's interesting. The media, for whatever reason, the media just shifted, and a lot of the stuff ends up promoting behavior in the black community that's very anti-wealth, very anti-black, very anti-family, and it's very, very sad. And then this is just me jumping into a pool, and it's not. Oh, okay, it's not playing. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna try it one more time. Okay, it doesn't work. So you can go to my Instagram if you want to check it out. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce, Dr. Boyce Finance. If you want to go check that out. All right, so let's look at one more thing. I have another Instagram, Dr. Boyce Money, and let's look at one financial lesson and see. I'm gonna randomly pick one and play it for you, and here we go. Yeah, let's look at this one. Let's see here. What do we got? What do we got? Let's do this. Here we go. All right. So let me show you this. This is an indicator of how the economy works. So tell me if you can hear this. Right.
Did you know that three men created $60 billion in fake loans that destroyed the entire world economy? Meet New Century Financial, America's second biggest subprime lender, founded by three guys who used to work at another crooked company called AmeriQuest. Here's how they pulled off the biggest financial scam in history. First, they created something called ninja loans. No income, no job, no assets required. Literally anyone could get a mortgage. But it gets worse. They coached people to lie on applications. Unemployed? Just say you make six figures. Want a $1 million house? No problem. They inflated home values by 30 to 50%. A $200,000 house suddenly became worth $300,000 on paper. The craziest part? They paid loan officers more money for approving the worst loans. The more likely someone would default, the bigger the bonus. Then they sold all these toxic mortgages to Wall Street banks and walked away with hundreds of millions. When New Century went bankrupt in 2007, it triggered the collapse that led to the 2008 financial crisis. Three men literally broke the world economy for profit. Did you?
Okay. Did everybody hear that? Let me know if you heard that. Well, that's interesting because what that did was that pretty much explain what happened around 08, 09, right when Obama came into office. It basically you had something called a moral hazard issue in banking where the incentives were just wrong, meaning that typically the person who is taking the risk should be the person who deals with the consequences of that risk. In a misalignment, example of a misalignment would be this. I had a friend in college who wrecked his car, and so his parents bought him a new car. And so then he wrecked that car, and his parents bought him another car. And you would say, well, why would he keep wrecking cars if, if he knows that it's going to be expensive to replace the car? Well, he wasn't paying for it. He knew that if he messed up, it was going to be on somebody else. So the fact that he was the one making the decisions, but he wasn't the one bearing the consequences, that created a misalignment of incentives. So there's no incentive for him to be safe because he's not going to pay the price anyway. So the banking system went through that too. They had a scenario where people that were making the loans, who were making the decisions, were not the ones who dealt with the consequences of making a bad loan. So what would happen is the mortgage broker would sell the loan and get the customer to sign the documents. They collect a fee. They then take that loan and they would package it with what they call mortgage-backed securities and let somebody else take the risk, right? And so eventually that doesn't work. That becomes almost similar to a Ponzi scheme, not quite, but very similar. And that's what led to the breakdown of the economy because they didn't structure the process properly. So ultimately, this is one of the things that can happen. It's going to happen again. There are right now big risks in the economy that are going to lead to a recession. Capitalism is built to have spikes and crashes. It's just going to happen. Capitalism is it is an economic drug, and it just takes you to the highest highs and the lowest lows. So the best thing to do is when things are going well, protect yourself to get prepared for the next crash. And then when the crash happens, you go through the rubble, you buy up some good assets, and then you wait for things to get better. So that's the consequences of being in the American economy, which is like driving an economic Ferrari. That's what it is. And every now and then that Ferrari crashes, and when it crashes, it's burning, it's nasty, but we build a new car and then we end up going down the road. So that makes the American economy the envy of the world, but a danger as well, right? So this is just what it is. Okay. All right. So let's finish up for today. I hope this was a helpful conversation. Reminder also, if you want to do stock options and learn how to make income from stock options, we're going to have a prime class on the 9th of March. So that's going to happen in a few days. So if you're interested, you can go to drboyceprime.com and join us. I think you're going to like it. Bring your whole family. I think you're going to love what we do with options. And there's some other things happening as well. So you might hear from me. Make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the number 87948 if you haven't done it yet. And I'll send you notifications when we meet. But also, when I send the Zoom link, try to register for the Zoom because some days I won't send out the notification. So I want you to be invited every morning as well. All right. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.